toasted. Hey, Selma's very pleased with all the yarn on the floor. Happy New Year! I'm Alex and I live in Sweden, Gothenburg. I haven't been able to film any sooner due to it gets dark quite quickly in the afternoon and I've been working. So today's Sunday and my partner is in the other room. I hope you can't hear her. I wanted to do a video. This will not be the regular type of knitting podcast with FOs and whips. I wanted to do, you've probably seen a ton of these videos at the beginning of January now, but if you saw maybe my third episode, you know I started writing down what yarn I have and the amount in this book by hand. I did some at a time because I just wanted to keep track. I was very inspired by Retro Claude, her video. She did this, but I think she did it on Raverly. I didn't want to put everything in there. It was just overwhelming and taking pictures, and so I just wrote it down. I don't keep the best track. I have to flip the pages a lot. I try to pair brands basically, and I'm not sure. Yeah, I use a Tipex or something. It kind of looks like this. So Selma, so I wanted to do like a quarterly video of my yarn stash, my knitting plans, a bit of statistics. I really like making lists and tracking numbers, counting. I'm not sure I wanna share the exact amount of my stash. Oh god. I'm doing this because I started feeling overwhelmed of what I accumulated. So this is something I'm doing for myself because I'm starting to feel overwhelmed and anxious and it's not fun anymore. So I hit the roof for me. Doesn't mean it's the same for you. So if you know you'll just get, feel bad watching this type of video, please watch something else. There's a ton of great stuff out there. I've been watching Stardew Valley videos lately because I just started playing 5 days ago. I'm very late to the game, but it's a lovely game. And finding this game might, change my progress of how much I'm knitting this year. I don't know. We'll see. It's good to have different hobbies, I think, and it's good for your hands and wrists as well. Yeah, I wanted to do like a quarterly video, so winter, spring, summer, autumn, and do the stats that I feel I want to keep track of. If you have any ideas or tips for what else to keep track of, write me in the comments. I'm trying to make this fun, and I'm doing it because I'm anxious and overwhelmed. I hit the roof, sort of. Doesn't mean necessarily I'm not gonna buy anything, but I did, because I just realized I probably didn't put all the I didn't put any of the old scraps from 2010 that I used. I used to knit a lot of hats and stuff back then. Also did crochet. I didn't put those scraps in here. I also realized I didn't put all my cotton and linen yarns. Probably. I'll have to check, but I did add up roughly what I put in, which is most of this. Yeah, and it was like a wake-up call, sort of. I was quite shocked. But it makes sense, I guess. And I want to size down a little bit. I don't want to have more than I could ever use. And when you're starting to feel anxious instead of inspired and creative and having fun searching for something in your stash, that's when your limits is reached. So this is it for me. Your limit can be less or more. That's up to you to find out. If you want to do this as well, let me know. I have another knit tuber that I talked to about this, and we kind of share our process, sort of. My plans. I made my first ever Make 9. I didn't know what that was last year. I've done this like this before, like TBRs to be read during the year. And I wanted to make my Make 9 as a dream knit instead of, you know, just making it is a good enough act in itself. Taking the time to think about what you need, what would make you happy, and focus on those things. So I'm gonna go through that now. I have another Bujo. I've used this one since 2020 and I haven't got very far. I tend to do a bit in January every year and maybe write a little at the end of the year. But mainly like budgets and stuff. But I did do my Make 9, and I also wrote down everything that I had on my needles on New Year's Eve, on the 31st of December. So I'm gonna go through all my whips as well as my wishes for my Make 9 and the yarns that I plan to use. And these are, the majority are patterns and yarns that I already have. So the few that I don't have, I'll try and get to later, depending on my mood. I don't want to be too strict because that makes me in my brain go totally bananas. I want to do the exact opposite. I think some of you can relate. So I want to trick myself into, it's not a band, but it's still, you know. Yeah. I had some stickers in here. These are lovely. Because this is Mona. She has a knit channel now, Ghost Puff. I bought these years ago. So it's nice to see her knitting and doing these types of videos as well. That's fun. Also got this spooky sticker one. I don't think she sells these anymore, but I used to buy a lot of stickers on Etsy when I have other Bujos that are full. Anyhow, I need to see if this looks good. And change. I was too warm. I'm trying to decide where to start. I'm not sure I want to say exactly how much I have in stash, but it's double digits of kilos. Now I want to donate a bit of that. It's kinds of yarns I know I don't like now when I've tried different yarns, colors I'm not into anymore, or wasn't really thinking too much when I bought them, those kind of things I want to donate. And I have a few that I want to try and sell. I also have a few that I would like to try and dye, do an over dye into black or dark brown. That would be very useful to me, instead of just buying a new black yarn or a new dark yarn. I could try and over dye it. Makes sense to me because I already have the yarn. I don't have the dye, but yeah, it makes sense in my brain. And I've never dyed yarn, so I would like to try. Could be fun, maybe. But I did, so I added up my numbers, and I know I missed a few. But I also looked through my Ravelry and all my finished objects for 2022. I didn't count my whips. I only count my finished objects, just like Retro Claude does for her monthly update on her stash. Because if it's still in a project, it's not used. It's assigned, but it's not used because I can't use whatever I'm making. I still need to put time into making it. But I did count all the yarn I knitted up in 2022, and it came out as 56 objects or finished objects. I did a lot of gift knitting, like small things, and it was 6.7 kilos. And that's a lot, I feel like, especially since the yarn I started to like is quite lofty and don't weigh a lot. But I did knit quite a bit in linen yarns this summer, and a bit in cotton as well, so those weigh more for less yardage. Like the unspun yarns have so much yardage for its weight, especially some of the Nutiden colors that I have, and mohair doesn't weigh anything for how long it is. So yeah, you know, all this. So 6.7. I don't expect to be able to knit this much. It just sounds like a lot. And I do knit a lot because I love it so much. I prioritize knitting over other things, or I do it while doing other things. Like, I barely read any physical books in 2022. I listened to a lot of audiobooks, and then I knit at the same time. I watched a lot of YouTube and shows and movies. I knit at the same time. I knit when I'm at friends. I knit on the tram. I knit on the commute to work. I knit at pubs, restaurants even sometimes. So I do prioritize the knitting, and I bring it with me all the time. 90% of the time I bring it with me. I used to do this with physical books, because I'm really a slow reader, but I read a lot because I make sure I take all the time I can. And taking the knitting with me is easing my anxiety, which is nice for me. so that's why I like to bring it. If I mean the train gets stuck, I have to wait or wait for another train or all those types of things. It's nice to have something to, you don't have to spiral in your head. So 6.7, I would be happy if I could knit 5 kilos from my stash that I have now in the whole of 2023. And I'm hoping to not buy yarn unless I'm gonna use it right away, like start a project with it right away, or have, no, I want to use it right away if I buy it. Like if I need a lace yarn for something I already own, or I started something and I miscalculated and the yarn is not enough, I want to be able to buy another skein, or someone makes a beautiful soft yarn or something, but if I buy it, I want to make sure I have the time to actually knit with it when I get it, because the yarn I do have, most of it, like 80%, I really want to knit with. I want garments in them. Most of them have at least sort of plans. I'm very excited to knit with them and wear them. So it's just a shame to me to have it lie around. But it's also fun to go and, you know, watch, hug them. You know, the collecting is also a hobby. Like, it's how I feel about my books. I want to read them sometime. Still. Yeah, it's a fine line, I guess. So I would love to knit maybe 5 kilos, and I'm thinking I'm gonna add up everything I knit in every season, like every quarter video, instead of every regular episode. I'm not gonna talk amounts, but in these quarterly ones I'm gonna share how much I knit and if I got something new, to keep track, mainly for myself, but also the friends I've made that want to do kind of the same. And if you're watching, it's lovely to have you. So yeah, let's talk a little about my Make 9. I have a few patterns. I have the Tulip cardigan by Melody Hoffman that I bought the Nutiden color Lola to knit this cardigan. And it looks like this. So I have the right amount of yarn, I hope. I'm planning to hold this double to knit this cardigan. I have the needles. I made a swatch on just right after New Year's. I made a swatch. Looks great. Good gauge. So can't wait to cast this on and have it ready. And I do love knitting in this yarn. I love wearing it. My body does well with this type of lofty airy yarn. And it doesn't scratch. And I love purple, as you know, probably. This is my plan for the Tulip cardigan by Melody Hoffman. I got this pattern actually as a thank you for testing the Linden cardigan. Because that was my first Melody Hoffman pattern, actually. It feels dark, so I hope it's not too dark. We'll see. Not sure about the sound either, but yeah. Next one is a sweater I've been wanting to make since last winter. I have the yarn. I bought the yarn last winter and knew I wanted to knit this one. And it's the Purpurea sweater by Teti Lutzak. And I want to knit it in this summer. I made these swatches last winter. Yeah. So this is Sejd colorway. I think it was last December or November, January. Last winter. It's a Nutiden yarn. This is apparently quite delicate to knit with, and I wanted to hold it double with another Swedish yarn that's a lace weight 100% wool in a more pinkish red color called Körsbärssaft, and this is the swatch with that color, and this is a swatch without. So this is one strand, it's very holy, and this is two strands. So this was my plans. Then I saw Aimee Sheer Makes Building blocks drop in this colorway. It looks so gorgeous. This is one of my favorite colors, like a wine red with a lot of purple. That's oh, it's so fucking perfection. And I think I got a 500 bag of this, and I'm like, do I want to do what I planned or do I want to make the building blocks drop instead? Because this purpurea, it's a beautiful sweater. It feels more like a fancy sweater, and the building blocks drop feels like a cozy everyday sweater. So it's two different types of garments. So I'm still deciding, because I really want to wear this. So I'm trying to think about which one will I wear the most. Next, oh, I didn't bring this yarn either. It's an Andrea Mowry sweater, pink fizz, with a beautiful lace. It's a bottom up drop shoulder with a beautiful lace. And I want to knit this in a Nutiden as well, held single. I hope that works out. I get a sport weight gauge with one strand on Nutiden. Usually a few of them have been thin, but usually it works out. I'm hoping to not have to get another yarn to hold it with. I want to make a few things without more hair. I could try an alpaca, I guess, or an alpaca. It could be nice drape. I want to try and make it, and it's the colorway Parallell, so it's a gray purple blend. It's very heathery, marbled, sort of, almost very heathery. And I have a 300 bag of that, and a scrap that I got from my friend Jenny, because she doesn't like that color. I think I bought it from her. I bought a bunch of my Nutiden from her, actually, which is funny, because I didn't know about Nutiden before last autumn, and I became a patron New Year's last year, so my first yarn was bought outside of Patreon. Next one is the Storm Hood by Albiona McLaughlin. She's an Irish designer. She makes a lot of designs in unspun, but other yarn as well. And I wanted to make the Storm Hood, and I already made it. It was my first knit of the year. It was so fun to knit because it was so easy, and it was an interesting construction. You knitted circular first and then knit flat, and I really like the detail, the ribbing going up and the shaping of the head. It was lovely, and I wasn't sure how much yarn it would take, but I'll show I'll show it to you. I wasn't gonna talk about FOs, but I want to show it at least. So this is in Nutiden Grodd held double, and feels squishy, but this yarn was very thin, the Grodd. I also used this a bit in a few stripes for my girlfriend's Christmas sweater, and it's so thin. I held the Tulip single, but I had to hold this double to make the same sport weight gauge, because this was so delicate. It was breaking all the time, so I held it double, but I would still say it's a sport weight gauge. Holding other Nutiden double would make a DK or even worsted sometimes, and single would be a sport weight gauge for me. But I really love this. I truly recommend. And I was thinking, like, if you don't want to make it in an unspun yarn, maybe you can't get a hold of it, or Plötloopy, the Icelandic yarn, can be a bit more rough. I was thinking maybe you could do it like a single ply hand-dyed yarn, single ply merino fingering held with a strand of alpaca. It would be really lovely, I think, in your face like that, or mohair if that's better for you, but something lofty, woolen spun, I would say, at least. But I think that combo would be great. I do feel like the rib is, because I've been wearing this, I love it so much because it makes me feel like Link, or just one of the people in Zelda. I've been wearing it with my ears out like this at work. A colleague of mine called me a cute elf, and I took that as a compliment. So loving this. Yeah. Next one is the coloring book Tea by Aimee Sheer Makes. I do not own this pattern yet, but I've been eyeing it since it came out, and I don't know what yarn to use. I really love the look and the style of it, so I would really like to knit it maybe this summer or in spring. Next one is the Oversized Seasons cardigan by Ozetta. I bought this autumn, late summer, and I bought the yarn as well. I already made a swatch. This is also Nutiden that I got, and I'm gonna hold it double because this cardigan is a fisherman rib, and I feel like I'm gonna wear this a ton. And it's got a really interesting construction, and I made a swatch with, I put 5 and 4.5 2 strands. It's gonna be squishy and lovely, so I need to get started on this when it feels fun. Yeah, so beautiful. I don't have a lot of cardigans, and that's one thing I realized that I really want to knit this year, because that's something I will wear, because I tend to get overheated easily, so it's easier to just keep it open or take it off. You don't mess up your hair or whatever. It's easy to bring with you. You can wear it as a jacket, sort of. So I want to make more cardigans, and this one is one of them. Next one is called Pheasant Pullover by Aimee Cristoffers. I didn't bring the yarn for this one, but basically I have a bunch of Holst Supersoft yarns in different colors, different scraps and stuff, and this pattern is a Fair Isle yoke, and I have a deep purple Holst Supersoft that I would do as a base, and I want to try and figure out the other colors to make the Fair Isle. Not sure. I have to do a few swatches, I think. And then we have the Vår socks by Fibertales. I won this pattern last summer with the matching yarn. Fibertales and Woolen Twine had a giveaway, so I won it. So it's this yarn, and I'm very happy because I don't order from other countries. Really, it's just too expensive for me, and there's a lot of yarn I would love to try, but it's just, you can't have everything. So I'm very grateful to have this, and it's a beautiful, beautiful color shell. It's limited edition, number 4, fingering weight, natural sock yarn. So this is gonna be beautiful. I want to make the shorty version of the socks. I got embroidered flowers around the cuff. And then the last one in my make line, not the last one I want to make, it's a vest called Choko vest by Kiyomi Burgin. And I was thinking to knit this in, because it's got a collar and it's like a oversized vest with a slip stitched stripe pattern. And the sample picture is brown, so I immediately thought about using my leftovers from this knit, which is a Nutiden in the color Mening. But I also have a few other brown yarns. This is probably gonna look black. This is a dark brown Finnish wool from a Swedish person called Libbsticka. She makes this yarn on Gotland. She lives in Umeå, so she dyes and everything herself. This is so beautiful, but I'm not sure if this is too dark for a structured pattern, but I'm thinking that might be okay and be kind of nice as well, having a bit of mystery. I also have this one. It's a Nutiden Grodd. It's also brown with like gray red flecks in it. I was thinking this would be a lovely vest, and I was also thinking maybe I could use this one for the building blocks drop. Maybe. What do you think? Which should I use? Of course, there's a lot of other patterns that I have that I really want to make. There's this one. There's another Swedish designer called Wool and Beyond, Elin Balloon. She made this My Honey vest, beautiful honey stitch vest in beige. And I have, pattern uses 1 plate of Plötlopi. And I have these scraps from another project that I never made. And I have this beautiful marzipan Ozetta scrap. I have another smaller scraps, and these are from knitting baby gifts. And then there's supposed to be one other color, and I have these. So one of these, I can't decide which. I'm leaning towards a pink. So one of these, and these are merino silk, dyed in Sweden by Inde Dyer. This is more rosebud. I have a few flecks, and this is more like a salmon pink. So these together. Hope the lighting is okay. Okay, those are my plans. My girlfriend is making lunch. You might hear her in the background. But I also wanted to show you all the whips that I brought with me into 2023. And let's start with this one. So this is intentionally a slow whip. This is gonna become a blanket, and this is made of my Nutiden scraps, and this is turning out lovely. It's the 10 stitch blanket. I'm using 3.5mm needles. I haven't worked on this for a while, but I'm very much looking forward to having this blanket. I have my little scrap stash. Another one was Christmas MCal by Sari Nordlund. So this is the Lucia sock. I only did the first clue. This is an old Adlibris sock yarn, Socky Fine in a mustard color, commercial cheap yarn. I really like the color. I have no idea if it holds up. I do like the pattern. I definitely plan to finish these. It was really fun to make these. I just got overwhelmed. Like, I was homesick for the first week of December making vlogmas videos, or craftmas. I'm gonna call it next time if I want to do it. So I just yeah, I was late to the next queue and then was late again. It was just, yeah, I had to take a break. I have 2 other pairs of socks. This is my own recipe. I've made these exact before. 2 different Swedish dyers. Myran Åkerberg stash. This is a lovely sock yarn. I made an exact pair of these 1.5 years ago. I use them all the time. They still have no holes in them. I don't know how. I think this yellow has a bit of silk in it, and I use this for the toes and heels as well. And this is it's called zebra sock. This have black and red threads twisting the other way as flex sort of spots. So I don't know if that's what makes it more sturdy. It's a lovely yarn. I love it. So definitely gonna finish these someday. And I also have my Grodd socks by Laerke, Fibertales. I don't think you can see the pattern now, but I started these in May, and I made the heels in December. So I'm finally on the foot. I'm making 2 at a time, and this is a Regia from Sachenmeyer, wine red, German sock yarns. I really like this sock yarn actually. It's a nylon blend, but they hold up really well, and they have a lot of beautiful colors. So those are my socks. What else? Yeah, this is a web. So this is the Maron knitted bomber. So this is gonna be like a jacket. This is knit in Kampes Nature Black, 3 strands. So it's a worsted weight. And this is a lovely knit. Great pattern. I can't believe they only have 1 pattern. It's in English, but it's a Swedish designer. So it's gonna have a button band and sleeves. And this is purled rib. No, broken rib, yeah. So I've had a long break on this one, and I'm not sure why, because I really want this garment. I love the color. I think I signed up for test knit, and then another test knit, and then another test knit. Yeah. I had another whip on my list that I finished, because I started the Valkyria cardigan by Anna Sjösvärd. On the 23rd, she had a cal from the 24th of December, Christmas Eve. But I already finished that one, so I'm gonna show that in a regular episode. And I have another whip that's a test knit for Sara Ottosson again, that I made my Clueless pullover. I'm not gonna show that either because I started that last week. I'm gonna show that in another episode, basically. So I think that's it for this one. I forgot to tell you about my Alpenglow whip. Oh yeah, I have one arm, half the body, and I really love this. This is also, I mean, it's black and it gets dark here early, but I also made gifts and test knits, but I can't wait to finish this one. I also have the Hobbiton vest by Fable Knitwear. They started last summer. Beautiful brown yarn that I got in a D-stash, and a mohair that I got secondhand. This is an old Swedish company, Marks och Katten, so this is mohair with nylon probably. This is beautiful red-brown color. This is rib, but it looks a bit small, so we'll see. And the last thing I forgot to talk about is I started to write down how much yarn I used every month, just like Retro Claude, but I'm gonna share it quarterly instead. So this is November, 317 grams, and in December 911, which 100 grams was a gift in the balls skeins. So I knitted 811 in December. So this is something I'm planning to share in the coming videos as well. January, so far 292 for the Valkyria and 80 grams for the Storm Hood, and I'm working on a balaclava test knit, and I'm not sure how much. I think it took 16 grams of the double strand mohair, and then I'm using a worsted weight yarn as well. We'll see. So these are, because I thought I didn't share much, but I shared the whole of 2022, not the months that I started counting. Yeah. So yeah, let me know what you think. Have you knitted any of these patterns? Used any of these yarns? Want to help me decide on colors? Talk to me in the comments. It's always, I appreciate everything. It's lovely to talk to you. That's why I'm doing this. And I hope you find this format okay. And I hope you can hear me and see me today. So I think I talked about everything. Yeah. See you next time. Now I'm gonna get some coffee and